Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I think we might be live now. So this is a live stream, and we're going to do a really quick thing here before the next stream starts in about 20 minutes. And what we're doing today is following a suggestion that somebody on the channel actually left. And let's see, I will find this somebody that gave me a comment, and this was a good suggestion. So we're going to be building an Angular application based on a community project. Let me just go and find this real quick here, what it is. I've got my MacBook Pro set up. Just make sure that my sound is coming through here.
I was a fitness instructor in Atlanta.
Nope. Comments.
Right as the city went under lockdown.
Oof, that's a rough time.
All the studios shut down. But with B&H's help, I started workout.
Okay.
It's an online fitness platform with cycling classes and offline
Yes,
classes
here we go.
by me.
Talk about lemons to lemonade.
As I started looking for equipment, everybody I spoke to was pointing me to B&H. I needed a camera.
Anyway, we're doing an Angular thing here today. Sorry about the late start, folks, and thanks for joining in.
Well, here's the thing.
Just make sure my sound is coming through. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Yes, here we go. Ali Mirza Mohsin says hello. Hello, Ali. Anyway, welcome. Angular thing here today. Sorry about the late start. Sounds like my sound is coming through just fine. Well, I can't find the person that actually requested this. Ah, here we go. Bomaza Hamza. Asked for this. And Rex material starter template. All right, so that's what we're building today real quick on both of these machines. And I'm gonna throw in a new machine I just got, which is the Dell Xps 13. XPS 13. Right here. Here it is. Okay, so this machine is actually, it's a little smaller than the MacBook Air, the new MacBook Air. It weighs about the same though. And so far I ran one test on it. I recorded it. It's a video coming up next week. And on that test, actually it beat out both the MacBook Air with the M1 chip and the MacBook Pro with the Core i9 chip. It has the Core i7 11th generation with that Evo logo right there. And the only problem I have with these machines is that they like to do things whenever they want, the Windows machines. Pop-ups, updates, really obnoxious. But if it means a faster machine for us developers, then hey, maybe that's going to be good. Maybe we can ignore all the annoying things it does. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to get this material starter. And just want to make sure that that's the one that I actually need to get. Angular NGRX material starter. Let's copy. I'm going to clone this directory and actually build it locally, and that's the idea here. So I do have two machines here, the MacBook M1 Air and the i9 Pro, MacBook Pro. This Air has 16 gigs of RAM. The Pro has 64 gigs of RAM, just to set the stage. Copy that. Let's go to the terminal here. I'm gonna go to my code directory. And let's go ahead and in there, git clone this. All right, I'll set that up here, and then let's do the same thing over here on the Air. And feel free to post your questions if you have any questions in the chat. I'll be reading that shortly. Okay, this is Tomas Strayan. I think I spelled it right. No, too many S's. Let's see. Is that the right account here? All right. Angular NGRX material starter. I'm not going to type it because it's right there. And let's clone this one as well. Really love the Mac keyboard. All right, so I'm going to clone these two at the same time, and let's see. I mean, you've seen this test before. The MacBook Air usually wins when it comes to I/O, so not a big deal. And my other camera doesn't work right now, so I can't show you the rear view of these machines at the same time. But that's okay, because hopefully you can see this, and we will analyze the times of the builds, which is what this video is really about. Okay, so we've got that. Wait a minute, do I have it or no? Oh, haha. That's why that one was so fast. So I've cloned that repo. Let's go in there. And there's all the stuff, the project stuff. Okay, we're all set up here. And I'm just basically going to be following the instructions in the repo, which say, let's go down here. So this is what it looks like. I don't know if anybody's played around with this or not before. It's an example of how to use an Angular project structure with NGRX and material all together. Pretty nice sample, actually. All right, let's continue. We're going to do npm install and then npm start. Pretty simple, but I'm not going to do start, actually. I don't want to start it up. I don't want to start up the server, because starting up the server doesn't really matter. I want to run the build command, because the build command is what matters here, and that's what's going to take the most amount of time. So that's what I want to compare. Let's go ahead and do that. Back here, I'm going to say npm install. All right, while that's happening, I'm going to do the same thing on the Air, npm install. And while that's happening, I'm going to read your comments to see what you guys are saying over here. All right. Rishikesh says, "Sir, noise is getting echo." I'm sorry about that. Hopefully we're not getting any echo. I'm going to turn down the volume here. Maybe that'll eliminate some of the echo. All right. Kazim says, "Do you use M1 daily now?" No, I don't. I don't use the M1 daily. And now that we're not going anywhere or traveling anywhere, I use my iMac daily. My iMac is my machine. I'm using it for streaming right now. But when I did travel, I used my MacBook Pro. So I'm not ready to switch to the M1 fully just yet. And there's Ionic Ninja. Ionic Ninja, thanks for your tip the other day. I did include that in a video that's coming up next week. I appreciate that tip about building WebKit, I believe it was. So that was a good test. Thanks for that. And Ionic Ninja says, Node works natively on M1. That's a good question. We can check that out. But I think that's the answer to that is no. From what I remember, running Node here on the M1, it actually runs under the Intel process, which means it's being run under Rosetta. Okay, let's take a look at this here. So I think that npm install worked fine. On the MacBook Pro with Core i9. Here, on the M1, it's asking me all sorts of things, probably because this is the first time I'm running an Angular process here, the Angular CLI. And I'm just going to accept the default there. Okay, so here comes the test. And after this is done, we'll plug in that XPS and see how quickly that takes. All right, so on the MacBook Pro, I'm gonna run the command npm run build. Now the build command does actually spit out the time at the end, how long it took. So I don't need to run these at the same time. Let's do the same thing here, npm run build. Okay. i9 Pro is working away, compiling. M1 is compiling as well. This is it, folks. Let's see who is going to win. While this is happening, I'm gonna try to set up my XPS and see if I can do that quickly enough. Okay, they're done. Let's take a look. This is gonna be a little bit too close. Too close, folks. All right, so the i9 Pro finished in about 46.8 seconds. I'm gonna run this again, of course, by the way, just in case you're wondering. And the M1 finished in 47.3 seconds. So, I don't know. A little too close. Let's do it again, yeah? This time I'm actually gonna use the time command, which somebody also recommended. I love it when you guys leave comments that are helpful. This is awesome. That's what the community should be all about. So time npm run build. Now even though the build process itself will tell you the time command is actually a built-in Mac OS command, or Unix command, I guess, that times that whole process if the process terminates. So that's why I'm running the build command also and not the start command, because the start command doesn't terminate. It just leaves the processor running. So the build command terminates and it'll tell us the system time. All right, so here as well, time npm run build and go. They're both off to the races, doing their compilation one more time. Very cool. And now I'm getting the XPS ready as well for us to test that next. And we're done. Okay. So, yeah, this one took less time, I guess. Okay, this one swapped. According to the time command, which is kind of weird. I don't know how to explain that. According to the time command, the M1 Air finished 2 seconds before the iPro. So this one took 29.24 seconds and the i9 took 31.14 seconds. And according to the Angular's build command, it's the opposite, 17 seconds versus 18.8 seconds. Folks, these differences are so small that I don't know if it really matters. And this is a pretty decent sized project. It's not the biggest. It's like a medium project. And these differences are minor. You know, you got a machine that's, I don't know, like $1,100, $1,200, which is the MacBook Air. That's doing pretty well. Versus the Core i9, which is like a $4,000 machine. I think I paid maybe $3,800 for it. So, yeah, you could save yourself some money if you're doing Angular development. Get yourself this one. Now, this is a test where you're building, right? You're building once and you're done. But under normal development conditions, you would be building all day. You would be working on this project, and it keeps working and working and working. And the theory is that eventually the M1 will heat up because the MacBook Air doesn't have a fan. It'll heat up and start throttling, right? Well, I did run another test, which was really interesting. And I'm going to have a video on that next week. See, the PC is making all these noises, giving me all these pop-ups. It's really annoying. So I do have a video coming up on that next week where I do a continuous test, a continuous build of a small TypeScript project for over an hour. And not to spoil it for everybody, but the M1 actually loses that one badly. And that's maybe not because of throttling. In fact, that happened pretty soon after I started the process, started happening, but you'll see that in the video coming up. So, not sure what the deal with that test was, but the XPS actually blew both of them away in that particular test. All right, so we have some of the times here for M1 and for the i9. This is the secondary build, so it took a lot less time. I'm going to do one more, and then we'll kick it off on the XPS, just to keep things averaged out. All right, so I did kick this off one more time. It doesn't take that long, so I think it's okay. In the meantime, let me read some of your comments here. Ionic Ninja says, what's keeping you from switching to the M1 as your main machine? I guess mainly it's the fear that, well, there's a couple of things. One is the fact that I spent so much money on this MacBook Pro that I feel like I should use it somehow. I suppose I could sell it and get a decent amount of money back for it. But the second thing is the fear that not everything is supported yet on the M1. And I do use a virtual machine for doing .NET development as well. And that didn't go so well for me. Using Parallels, the preview version of Parallels. I want to make sure that's clear. It's not even the beta yet. It's very, very early on. There's the preview version of Parallels, preview version of Windows for ARM. So I do have a video on that. I think I posted it yesterday. It didn't go so well for me, so that's why I'm not switching just yet. All right. Emmanuel says, do you think Mac Mini will have better performance due to active cooling? So I do have a Mac Mini right next to here, and I did not notice a significant improvement on the Mac Mini even after long builds at all. So it does have active cooling. I can hear the fan barely. I can hear the fan. Did not see a significant improvement. Like after running a .NET build for, I don't know, a pretty long time. I don't remember what that was, but I do have another video on that as well. It came in just a tiny bit ahead of the MacBook Air. So if you need to be portable, get the MacBook Air and don't even worry that the Mac Mini will be significantly more performant. So, all right. Let's see. So we've got the MacBook Pro finishing in 14.6 seconds. M1 Air, MacBook Air finishing in 18.5 seconds. Looks like the MacBook Pro is beating out the MacBook Air just by a little bit in our third consecutive run. Okay, so you got the figure of the numbers in your head. Now I'm gonna try to plug this in, this Dell Xps 13 in here. Let's see if it works, because I've actually never plugged it into my HDMI output. Let's see if it even works. So I'm gonna plug that in. Is it gonna be plug and play? Hey, look at that. All right, folks. This is the Dell XPS 13, brand new with the new Intel Core i7 chip, 11th generation. So yeah, very, very recent. Let's see if I can increase my font here. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. Folks, Windows folks are gonna have to help me out here, because I don't know what I'm doing with Windows. It's been a long time since I used this on a regular. Okay, so I'm gonna build this. Let's go to Angular, NGRX material, and npm run build. Oh, do I need to do npm install first? Or does it include that step already? Yeah, I do need to do it. So npm install first, and then we'll see what happens with that and how long that takes. All right, so we got some more questions. Can you check the production build? Yeah, we can do a production build. Thanks, Laszlo, for that. Mad Motorcyclist says the fact comparisons are being made with a baseline new ARM architecture with high-end CISC systems bodes well when more processors are added. So that, yeah, that's when more stuff is going to be added. That's going to be pretty well. That's going to be pretty good. So I'm really looking forward to. I don't know if I understood your question or not, or your comment, but I'm guessing you're saying that just wait till 2021 with MX or M2, whatever chip they're going to call it. That's going to be pretty crazy. All right, so this is ready, folks. Let's go ahead and do the build. npm run build. And I'm going to do this a couple times just to make sure we get a sort of an averaged number here. While that's happening, let's see what else you guys are saying. Ionic Ninja says, are the tests M1 versus MVP both machines plugged in? Yes. They're not plugged into power. No, I thought you meant on the same network, which is the usual question. They're on the same network. They're not plugged in to power, which is, I think, a good test because, I mean, when you have a laptop, you want to use it as a laptop and you want to see how far it gets you, right? By the way, there is not even a single question that if you need, you know, a longer lasting machine, then the MacBook Air is it, the M1 MacBook Air. The Core i9 MacBook Pro that I have, I never even think about leaving the house without the charger, without the cable. It's just not something I think about because, and when I go to a cafe to work, for example, I always find a cafe with plugs because I know this thing is not going to last me 2 hours even. So with decent amount of work going on, especially if I'm running a Windows virtual machine. This is done, folks. Let's take a look. So 45 seconds, 45.8 for the first build, which is about the same that we got the first time we built on both machines, from what I remember. Let's build it again and see if we get an improvement in that. All right. Let's see. Rishikesh says, how much swap memory can we use daily without losing SSD life and speed on M1? I don't know. I really have no idea about that. Sorry. Okay, so 16.5 here. Folks, we're getting pretty much the same numbers. I'd say on average, if this comes about 14 right now, it's going to be on par with the Core i9, which is slightly better than the M1 performed on the third build. Yeah. Okay, so not 14, but 16.4, still in the same range, I'd say. 18 was on M1, and 14.5 was on the i9. So, a pretty nice little machine if you don't need to do iOS development, if you don't need any Mac development features. This is a really, really great little machine. The Dell Xps 13. I really like the feel of the keys too. So, pretty good option if you're doing Angular development. So we're doing a production build, right? A release build. Let's try that as well. I forgot what that's called here. Let me just switch over here and take a look at their what is this? Sure. Build prod. Okay, pretty simple. So let's do a build prod on the i9. Okay. We're gonna do a build prod there, and we'll do a build prod here. Okay, so it's doing its production build. Let's see if you have any other questions. Girish says, I'm buying iMac 2020. What do you think about it? I like my iMac. I have a 2014 iMac. Yeah, 2014. It's 6 years old, and it's still pretty awesome. The iMac is a good machine. Just make sure you max it out with RAM. Well, I don't know if maxing it out is something you need these days, because I think it goes up to pretty high, 128 or something. I have 32 in here on my iMac, and it's been serving me very well. Marian says, the first serve or build after npm install does some extra stuff. Yeah, it does some extra stuff, and probably subsequent builds check to make sure that something is not built, so they don't redo the builds. So this one actually took 44.8 seconds on the Core i9, pretty consistent. This one took a little bit longer, 52 seconds. So of course, we're gonna do it again, aren't we? Yeah, let's do it one more time, and then we'll call it a day. Unless you still want to see this done on the M1. Seems like the numbers we've been getting are pretty consistent, so it's really a matter of how much you want to spend on a machine and whether the 16-inch screen is really worth it for you. So, all right, we are done over here. While I was doing that, there's a new NPM version that just came out, and I need to update it. Didn't mention that before, did it? So this one took 23 seconds on the Core i9 and 32.9 seconds. This is making me feel uneasy, like we're actually getting further apart in the times. Should I do it one more time? All right, let's do it one more time. This is the production build on the Dell Xps 13 versus the Core i9. I know this video is about the M1, and I may have to go back to that, given that we're getting some different results here. So I'm actually gonna do that. I'm gonna start up my M1 here. again and run the production build while all that's happening over there. Okay, 26 seconds on the Dell. 23.7 seconds on the i9 Pro. And I'm gonna switch over to the M1 real quick here. Now this is the first time I'm doing the production build on the M1, so this should take around 45 seconds from what we've seen so far. Okay, it's thinking. This one's taking a while. It may take longer, I don't know. All right, any other questions here while that's happening? Let's see if I need to scroll down. Nope, no more questions. All right, so hopefully this gives you some other ideas about Angular projects. Okay, so 56 seconds, 10 seconds longer than the XPS and i9 on average, and I'm gonna build it again on the M1. Subsequent build should take less time. All right. Okay, so we got 32 seconds on the second run, which is kind of long. It looks like this one's taking the longest. Now, I'm not actually sitting here and calculating and keeping track of this scientifically in an Excel table, but it's more about the general feel of the speed and the snappiness of these things, and also just to get a sense of how hard it's working. So right now, the MacBook Air is cool to the touch. The MacBook Pro is, as always, really warm. And we're done here, 32 seconds. So quite a significant jump in subsequent builds on the M1. And by jump, I mean it takes longer. So, yeah, there you go, folks. I don't know. The M1 seems to have been winning, and it's been doing so well, but we've got some good contenders here. Now, you can spend a lot more money and get the Core i9, or, you know, the Dell Xps did pretty well too. So, yeah, that's all for this round. And if you want to stick around, I'm going to do another live stream. We're going to do some builds of a large TypeScript project, and we're going to build VS Code on the M1 and on the Core and on the XPS. So I'll see you in a couple minutes if you are sticking around. If not, you can always watch this later. And thanks for joining me. Bye.